Star Wars, Young Jedi Knights, Darkest Night, Chapter 7. From her unusual perch, Jaina surveyed the high-tech tree city and realized how much Kashyyyk looked like an organic version of Coruscant. Here at the canopy level, surrounded by industrial structures and Wookiee living quarters, Jaina saw tall exhaust ports and crystalline windows that reflected the hazy, gray-white sky. The crowns of tall trees thrust above the main canopy, like skyscraper towers covered with foliage. A huge clump of majestic growth in the distance sat like an island above the leafy waves of the unbroken treetops, like an island above the leafy waves of the unbroken treetops from this distance. It reminded her of the pyramidal towers of the Imperial Palace. Jaina thought with a twinge of homesickness that she missed her mother. The last time she and Jason had returned to the capital world, though, they had lost their friend Zeke, who had been captured by the Shadow Academy. Clusters of Wookiee homes dotted the canopy, compact dwellings connected to the computer factory complex by natural roadways that extended like tongues of a wheel across the treetops. Imported banthas trudged along the wide wooden roads, brushing against encroaching leaves. They plodded along sturdy, worn branches, hundreds of meters above the untraveled and treacherous lower levels of the primeval forest. The bantha Jaina and her friends rode from Loe's home to the computer fabrication complex, which was large enough that all 5 companions could ride on the padded seat strapped to the beast's back. The bantha had a rich, spicy animal scent that tingled in her nostrils. A harness made of bright red ribbons jingled with burnished brass bells. Her brother Jason patted the wiry cinnamon brown fur of the enormous beast's burden. Riding this bantha seemed to be the most enjoyable part of their trip for him so far. The driver, a mossy skeleton with huge dark eyes that glinted in the sunlight, hunched between the enormous ridged horns that curved around the bantha's head. The docile beast moved along the wooden walkway, paying no attention to the lush vegetation on all sides. Banthas were bred for desert travel, Jason piped up, but this guy seems to love it here. Indeed, Jaina thought. The beast seemed fat and healthy, content to carry passengers from the residential district to the main fabrication facility. They passed other Wookiees walking to work, eating up the distance with their long-legged strides. Beside her on the padded riding structure, Tenel Ka stared ahead, her expression unreadable but alert, ready for anything. Loe and Sarah sat on the black back cushions, chatting comfortably in the Wookiee language. Jaina looked forward to her tour of the computer factory. She couldn't wait to see the engineering marvels and industrial facilities the Wookiees had installed on their wilderness world. Loe had probably been eager as well, if he hadn't been so concerned about his sister. The bantha stopped and let them off at an outer checkpoint that gave access to the technical complex. Using handholds on the padded seats, the companions climbed down the hairy back of the bantha and jumped to the interlocked wooden deck. Since the bantha transportation systems were designed for use by tall Wookiees, the drop was a meter longer than Jaina expected. She wondered how the diminutive Silston driver ever managed to climb his way into the beast's head. Loe paid the driver a few credit chips, and the bantha trudged back down the cleared arboreal highway toward the residential islands in search of new passengers. Jaina looked at the multi-platformed industrial facility, seeing decks mounted on tiers on the outermost branches. Loe growled in excitement and pointed to a level platform high above and behind them. From this angle, Jaina couldn't see anything on its surface, but then a small craft rose with a grating roar of supercharged sublight engines. That's an old X-Wing. A Y-Wing, she said, recognizing the updated designs of the craft. The Y-Wing had a triangular cockpit flanked by 2 long engine pods that were held together, gave the fighter its characteristic shape like the letter for which it had been named. This starfighter had been refurbished and upgraded, but its engines were loud and powerful. The craft's afterburners kicked up behind the engine poda, and the Y-Wing streaked into the skies of Kashyyyk. Another identical starfighter rose from the platform, hovered for a moment as the pilot adjusted the controls, then streaked off after its companion. A 3rd and 4th Y-Wing also soared away. How many of them are there? Jason asked. Jaina watched in admiration. Probably an entire squadron, she suggested, then remembered something she had heard. The New Republic needs all the military strength we can get if it's going to help fight the Second Imperium. We don't have time to build all new ships, so I think they're refurbishing the old ones that have been mothballed since the fall of the Emperor. What do you mean refurbishing? Jason asked. Well, there's nothing actually wrong with old Y-Wings, Jaina Gate said with a shrug. They're great fighters during rebellion. But with new technology, we can modernize the engines, increase the hyperdrive multipliers. Since we're on Kashyyyk, I bet they're getting new navigational guidance, computers, and technical systems with central processors installed. Loie and Sierra nodded their heads vigorously to show that Jaina was right. She looked into the sky and watched as, one after another, Y-wings shot upward in a spectacular aerial display. Sierra said something else, and EMTD translated. Mistress Sierra suggests we remain here to watch, since the upgrade ships often test their new systems. She assures us it is quite a breathtaking sight. Loie bellowed in agreement. Jaina wanted nothing more than to witness the demonstration. When 12 of the ships had been launched into the air, circling over a treetop industrial facility, they flew into tight formation, one behind the other, a chain of powerful spacecraft. Their engines bloomed like distant thunder through the upper atmosphere. The pilots followed their leader, swooping down, cracking the whip in the sky. The Y-wings performed convoluted figure eights, kissing and flying so close to each other that the hulls were almost kissing. But the new guidance systems and engines did not fail them. The refurbished Y-wings performed flawlessly, and Jaina felt a warm satisfaction inside. She held her breath. If Coral and the Second Imperium could see the demonstration she made, they might think twice before attempting to tackle the New Republic. From one of the connecting structures that linked the perimeter platform to the central levels of the fabrication facility, a door dilated open. An excessively tall, spindly droid appeared, its legs on like thin support pipes, its long arms coppery. The droid had a squarish head and rounded corners, and optical sensors mounted on its all sides. It started out moving with a spidery grace as it balanced round footpads on the deck. Greetings, honored guests, the tall droid said, weaving on its leg hinges as it walked. I am the tour droid, happy to serve you this morning. I have received instructions to give you the complete tour of our facilities, in fact, the expanded VIP tour. I will speak basic unless you prefer to converse in Wookiee, Sullustan, Bothan, or another native language. Jaina shook her head. Basic will do, fine, thanks. The tour droid turned a pirouette on one long rod-like leg, and Jaina guessed the droid had been constructed so tall in order to comfortably accommodate speaking with Wookiees. The droid strode ahead with a mantis-like gait. You've already seen our air show for this morning, it said. Now for the good stuff. Since Jaina loved every workstation inside the fabrication facility intrigued her. Interesting smells of lubricants, carcinogens, and electrical solder surrounded her. The air was filled with buzzing, humming sounds against a background of white noise from the thousands of complicated manufacturing labs. Jaina looked at the ceiling high above their heads and saw embedded glow panels that suffused the corridor with a constant white light. At regular intervals, where hallways intersected, they passed trapdoor hatches and provided access to the underside of the factory and emergency evacuation routes down into the lower forest levels. The tour droid led the group into a room full of transparent cylinders that stretched from floor to ceiling, pillars filled with a bubbling fluid and sparkling diamond-like matrices. Here you see our crystal-growing tanks, the droid said, raising the volume of its speaker patch to drown out the gurgling noises and whir of air recirculation fans. In these carefully modulated tanks, we send electrical impulses in a specific current through the nutrient fluid to distribute crystalline molecules in solution. This encourages them to grow in a precise matrix with facet angles and electronic pathways mapped for a galaxy-renowned computer cores. A building is only as strong as its foundation, and these crystalline cores form the critical foundation of our computer architecture. Jason rubbed his fingers against the curved tank, tracing the path of tiny bubbles as they rode towards the ceiling. This is neat, he said. Please don't touch the cylinders, the droid said. Faint electric static discharges from your body could disturb the crystallization process inside. Jason pulled his hand away and looked sheepishly at his sister. She didn't bother to chide her so, since she had wanted to do the same thing herself. The next room was exceedingly cold, with puffs of air and white steam curling around the doorframe. The air smelled of scoured metal and frost. Inside, robotic arms moved about, sloshing thin metallic wafers through baths of liquid oxygen and pools of ultra-cold fluid that halted any contaminants from spreading across the surface. These wafers are delicate circuit boards, the tour droid said. A perfectly pure substrate on which we pattern complex memory maps. Jaina drew a long, frigid breath, blinking her eyes. Even with thick Wookiee fur, Loie and Sierra shivered. Lieutenant Ka and her scant reptilian armor displayed no sign of discomfort. Fascinating, she said. The tour droid returned, and with long, scarecrowish strides led them through the cold room. The next chamber was large and bustling, filled with hard-working Wookiees, each wearing a mesh bodysuit made of fine wires that held their fur in place. The white cloth mask covered the lower halves of their hairy faces. The workers looked up and shouted greetings to the visitors. Loie waved, recognizing his mother at her workstation. Calabalo nodded, blinking her eyes in the whirls of dark fur, and bent back to her task, carefully concentrating on the circus. For the past few months, our workers have logged extra long shifts and odd hours to meet the heavy quotas necessary to prepare our defense against the Second Imperium, the tour droid said. Here, the Wookiees are installing finished chips. The mesh suits you see them wearing are electrostatic screens to prevent even the finest stray foreign particles from drifting into the air. Any contamination could be disastrous, since these components are so complex. I can't believe it, Jaina said. The Wookiee technicians bent over the workstation, using delicate forceps and cleavers to remove minuscule chips patterned and cut from large, glittering wafers they had just seen in the cryogenic lab. These basic designs are used for many different systems, the tour droid said. While our specialties are tactical systems, central guidance computers, and mainframe system control, some of our chips are used in sophisticated droid models. Most droids are manufactured on robotic industrial worlds, however, such as Mechas 3. Oh my! Did he say droids? Chip? Do you suppose any of my components might have been manufactured here? Loie rumbled a comment, and Jaina nodded. Chewbacca helped put you together, EMTD. I suspect that lots of your opponents came from here. Oh dear! You don't think he used defective or rejected parts, do you? EMTD asked. Loie chuffed and laughed. And the little droid scolded him. My question was entirely serious, Master Labaka. After they walked through the chamber, EMTD continued to exhibit his curiosity. Master Labaka, would you mind turning around so I can see the entire room? If this is my birthplace, I'd like to give it a good look. How fascinating! Loie obliged, turning his way so that the small translating optical sensors could record every detail. And I thought this trip was going to be so dull, EMTD said. This is ever so much more interesting than those dangerous adventures you insist on having. For the end of their tour, the long-legged droid took them to the highest platform in the entire facility, the transportation control and shipping tower. A computer-filled room with workstations so high off the floor they were generous eye level, which he couldn't easily reach them. Several Wookiees stood around the stations, gazing up the transparent dome overhead. The dome was reinforced with support girders that crisscrossed in triangular patterns against the hazy sunlight shining down. Because we have such a busy commercial facility, the tour droid said, a constant stream of space traffic comes through this complex. Here we verify every incoming transport craft to make certain we receive no unwelcome visitors. We also have security monitoring satellites in orbit, ready to defend Kashyyyk. Once they receive orders from the control tower. The Wookiee traffic controllers worked as a team, communication headsets mounted on their shaggy heads and voice pickups clamped to their throat. They did not divert their attention even for a moment as the visitors entered. Before the tour droid could continue, Chewbacca strode in, followed by Loie and Sierra's mother, Marika Rakor. Marika Rakor waved to his children. Dark streak of fur stood out much like Loie's. Chewbacca bellowed a greeting and held out a large misshapen object, a blackened device that had been polished precisely angled crystal. That's the Shadow Chaser's computer core, Jaina said. Chewbacca nodded vigorously and spoke low, growling words. Chewbacca and Makor here said they have been searching for you children, said the tour droid. Excuse me, EMTD chimed in, but I serve as a translating droid here. Master Labaka, after returning from a pleasant visit from his family, has removed the Shadow Chaser's damaged Navicomputer Central Processing Core. As you can see, he has spoken with Master Makahor, and they have successfully located suitable replacement components to get the ship up and running. Hooray! Chewie pointed to the burned pathways of the Shadow Chaser's removed Navicomputer core. Loie's father also spoke up, and he said, Master Makahor asserts that this is an exciting new design, an imperial configuration he has never seen before. Unfortunately, however, he is confident the facilities here on Kashyyyk can repair it quite nicely. The tour droid bent over on its long, stretched-out body. You are quite good at translating with your speech, my colleague, it said, but you lack the finesse for being a true troubadour. You have not the ability to make interesting comparisons that customers can understand. For instance, you might have said, with our facilities here, we can place this damaged core in one of our crystal baths, flush out the impurities in carpet scoring, and use our own master computers to retrace the circuits and map electronic pathways. In short, we'll provide a backup tank to help heal the computer core. The MTD wasn't impressed. They certainly didn't need to hear all that, of course. I wouldn't presume to tell you your job, he said. We have more important things. The tour droid did not respond to insults since he had no doubt been given programming and tactfulness. Thank you for the tour, Gina said. That's very interesting. The tour droid stood up straighter, and optical sensors mounted on the sides of his boxy head brightened with pleasure. That was the finest compliment you could have given me, Mr. Spanosolo.